Ever wonder why some brilliantly innovative startups completely crash and burn in their very first year, while seemingly ordinary companies are out there generating millions? Well, the secret rarely lies in the product itself. To survive the daily grind and, actually thrive, you need a rock-solid plan for profitability right out of the gate. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are decoding the ultimate profitability blueprint. All right, let's dive right into this. Because honestly, understanding your overarching plan is like the ultimate cure for disorganized startups and overwhelmed founders. When you're caught up in the chaotic daily grind of running a company, the sheer volume of tasks can completely blind you to the big picture. And that is exactly why having a structured, intentional framework for making money is absolutely non-negotiable. Now, this framework actually has a name you've probably heard a million times. A business model is quite literally a company's overarching plan for profitability. It's the roadmap you use to identify your target market, plan out your necessary expenses, and figure out how you're actually going to promote your products. And while the concept of making a profit is as old as commerce itself, the actual phrase business model is relatively modern. It was originally coined back in 1994 by management consultant Peter Drucker. So think of Drucker's definition as the historical foundation for our architectural blueprint today, because every single business has a model, whether the founder actively realizes it or not. Section 1. Exploring business model types. So there are quite a few blueprints to choose from, but most of them fall into a handful of core categories. Let's take a quick cinematic tour through some of the most dominant architectural styles out there. First up, we have the classic retail divide, e-commerce versus brick and mortar. E-commerce conducts sales entirely online, which offers the massive advantage of incredibly low overhead. You aren't paying for expensive physical locations or the extra staff to run them. Brick and mortar, on the other hand, while definitely more expensive to run, offers a distinct, really powerful advantage: total control over the physical customer shopping experience. To put that into perspective, just think about some of the massive players out there. For e-commerce, you've got giants like Amazon, the pet supplier Chewy, or the razor brand Dollar Shave Club. For brick and mortar, think of your classic physical retailers like Kohl's and Woolworth's grocery stores. But check out that third bullet point, the hybrid model. You can actually combine these. Apple is a fascinating hybrid. They sell heavily online, for sure, but they are world famous for their stellar in-store brick and mortar experience. Google operates similarly. They're an advertising giant, but they also sell software subscriptions and physical hardware. Moving down the supply chain, we find the manufacturer and the distribution models. And this brilliantly illustrates how two vastly different companies can actually be two sides of the exact same coin. The manufacturer earns money by literally building products from raw materials. The distributor takes those manufactured products and brings them to the broader market, usually selling them wholesale to retail businesses who then turn around and sell to you and me. You interact with the manufacturer model every single day. Brands like Intel making computer chips, or Samsung and LG Electronics building your TVs and appliances. But here's the thing. They rely heavily on the unsung heroes of distribution, companies like ProPrep, eStore Logistics, and ACFS Port Logistics, to actually get those manufactured goods successfully out into the global marketplace. All right, next, let's pivot to the digital and service-based realm. Here, we're contrasting the subscription model against the freemium model. Now, the subscription model is all about that recurring revenue, getting customers to pay an ongoing fee for a product or service rather than just making a single one-time purchase. The freemium model is a really clever variation of this. It offers a basic version of a product completely for free, but it heavily limits the features. Users then have to subscribe to a paid premium tier to unlock the full feature set or, just to remove those annoying advertisements. Just think about your own daily habits for a second. If you're binge watching Netflix or using Microsoft software, you are participating in a subscription model. But if you network on the free tier of LinkedIn, organize your life with a project management tool like Trello, or listen to ad-supported music on Spotify, you're in a freemium model. These companies know exactly how to hook you with value up front before ever asking for your credit card. And to round out our blueprints, let's do a rapid-fire look at just how wildly diverse these models can be across different industries. Direct sales completely cuts out the storefront, selling directly through people, think Avon or Herbalife. The franchise model? That lets you buy a proven blueprint for a cut of the profits, like a 7-Eleven or Just Cuts. Advertising-based models offer free content to users and charge companies for ad space, which is literally the bread and butter of Facebook and Google. Then there's bundling, which sells 2 or more products together at a discount, like the Adobe Creative Suite or a McDonald's value meal. And leasing involves renting out expensive items, like a car rental service. The sheer variety here proves there is absolutely a blueprint for every conceivable industry.
Section 2. Expert Advice. Core Components.
So we've got the architectural styles down, but we need to pivot to the how. It's time to establish the load-bearing pillars of your chosen blueprint. What makes these models actually work for your specific business? Because you can't just slap a subscription label on a terrible product and expect to make millions. Regardless of which overarching model you choose, experts agree there are core components you absolutely must clearly define to structure your operations for success. Let's walk through the first 4 foundational pillars. First up, your high-level vision. This is just 2 or 3 sentences outlining your overarching strategy and what you want to achieve. Second, key objectives. These have to be quantifiable goals, specific sales targets or growth numbers. Third, your target market. You need to know exactly who you are selling to and what problems they are desperately trying to solve. Now, what's really interesting here is this 4th point, your value proposition. This is the unique element of your product that makes it worth choosing over your competitors. Maybe it's a better price or a revolutionary new feature, but if you don't know your unique value proposition, your business model will simply collapse under the weight of market competition. Now let's see how this builds into the final 4 operational components. Number 5 is your pricing model, determining exactly what you will charge, which directly dictates your profit margins. 6 is market positioning, the specific messaging strategy you use to portray your value proposition and actually attract buyers. 7 is your go-to-market strategy, the actual channels, like social media or paid search, that you'll use to promote the product. And finally, number 8, your long-term growth strategy. How are you going to expand into new markets or introduce new products in the future? When these 8 pieces interlock seamlessly, you have a literal master plan for profitability. Section 3. The business model canvas. And here we are, the climax of our explainer, the business model canvas. We've talked about the types of models and their core components, but this acts as the ultimate visual execution tool to review your entire business at a single glance. It divides your operations into 4 main areas: infrastructure, offering, customers, and finances. Under infrastructure, you're listing your key activities, key resources like capital and staff, and key partnerships like your suppliers. Your offering contains that all-important value proposition we just talked about. Your customer section maps out specific customer segments, customer relationships, and the channels you use to reach them. And finally, finances lay out your cost structure right alongside your anticipated revenue streams. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. Filling out these specific segments forces you to be brutally honest about how your business actually operates. Are you building long-term personal customer relationships or highly automated ones? Are your revenue streams primarily subscriptions or are they one-off sales? What is your real cost structure for advertising and labor? Defining all these elements on a single canvas is, without a doubt, the single best way to prevent your daily operations from getting dangerously off track. Section 4. Executing your master plan.
We've looked at the theories and we've explored the canvas, but honestly, a blueprint is just a piece of paper until you actually start pouring the concrete. As the source material wisely points out, operating a business in the real world is significantly tougher than just building a model on a whiteboard. There are going to be unexpected costs, changing customer preferences, and wild supply chain hiccups. But when you have actually taken the time to map out your canvas, identify your overarching model, and define those core components, you are no longer flying blind. You're fully ready to jump in and adapt, secure in the knowledge that your fundamental plan for profitability is sound.
So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final critical question to consider for your own entrepreneurial ambitions. Look at the problem you want to solve in the world and ask yourself, which business model perfectly fits your unique value proposition? Because once you answer that, you have the blueprint to build something truly incredible. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you on the next one.